Welcome to another episode of Vida Change Roundtable Minisode. I'm Pei Yan, and I'm Pei Yan from the Vida Change team. And from today's Minisode, we will be talking about Ramadan and diabetes. And our guest for this Minisode is Anita from Jakarta. So I'm going to let Anita introduce let her share more about herself before we actually start the discussion. So Anita, could you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Hi, my name is Anita. I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia. Probably I'm going to share some experiences about Ramadan fasting with diabetes, and hopefully it helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Anita, for joining us today as a guest for our minisode. So, and yes, to our audience who are actually watching this minisode from wherever you are, feel free to join our discussion through the Facebook comments as you're watching live, so we can see your comments. And if you have any questions or anything to add on to this discussion, please feel free to type them in the comments below. So yes, Anita, I understand that because I come from a country where it's multiracial society and we have a lot of Muslim friends, and I know that Ramadan is actually approaching, and in fact it begins on the 17th of May. And I know that it's an important period for all Muslims around the world. So could you share with us more about what Ramadan is and what Muslims do during this period?
Yeah. Ramadan is usually called as a holy month. We usually do religious practices such as fasting, reading Quran. We also do night prayers. But for diabetes, it will be slight changes, especially in meal changes and sleep changes. For sometimes, as a diabetic, sometimes it's challenging for us to do Ramadan fasting because there are several adjustments to ease our fasting through the day. For Asian countries, we have Ramadan fasting from 12 to 14 hours. But probably in other countries, they will experience more than 20 hours Ramadan fasting. So it's really challenging. What else?
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, how's the fasting process like? Maybe you can, tell us a bit more about what do you do and how do you start the fast?
Okay. Ramadan fasting usually starts very early breakfast, starting from like 4 a.m. We have sahur, and then we start fasting until during the daylight, and we will end our fasting by fasting at sunset. So it's around 12 to 14 hours in Asian countries. During the time, usually do religious practices. Yeah. But as a diabetes, therefore there's some adjustment because we usually have 3 times meal, we have 2 times snack. But since we're doing fasting, there are some adjustments in insulin dosage, in the calorie intake, and you sometimes have to move your snack time at night around 8 until 9 p.m. Just to ensure that you have enough calories for the day.
Ah, I see. So, are there any exceptions for a Muslim not to fast? So, if we have certain things going on, and so would you like? I know that some of my friends, they don't fast during certain periods of the fasting month. So maybe you can tell us a bit more about what are the exceptions for Muslim not to fast.
Okay, in general, it's okay if you are sick. You're sick if you are ill and you are elder and your age is below 8 years old. But for diabetes, it's okay to break fasting if you have several conditions such as hypoglycemia, dehydration, and diabetes ketoacidosis. It's okay to try to fast, but whenever you've experienced the symptoms, it's better to break your fasting. It's okay because although Ramadan fasting is a must, but it's also in the same time, it's also mentioned that you may not harm your body. So when you're experiencing the symptoms, you have to stop from fasting.
I see. So for this group of people, are there any other things that they could do? Because I know that fasting is a very sacred practice that Muslims do. So if they cannot fast, are there any other acts that they can actually participate in during the period of Ramadan?
Okay, it will depend on the situation. First, if he or she able to pay the days of where he or she is not fasting, they can do it in the other day outside Ramadan, or he or she can pay fidya. It's like 0.7 liter of rice, and multiply with the number of days you're not fasting, and you can give it to dua or someone who needs it. Yeah.
Okay, so I hope whoever's watching this Minisode there, I hope you actually gain like a better understanding of what Ramadan is and what the Muslim community does during the period of Ramadan. So before we actually proceed to the next question, just please take note that the information that we're about to discuss is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. So please always refer to your healthcare professionals for proper advice, especially for people with diabetes during this period of fasting. So the last question that I would like to ask for this Minisode is that, as a person with diabetes, can I participate in fasting?
Yes. Yes, it's always okay to try. Yeah, it's okay. But before you start fasting, try to consult your doctor, especially about the insulin adjustments, because since there were several changes in the calorie intake during sahur and iftar and the snack time, so your insulin needs to be adjusted. My doctor recommends me. It's my personal experience. Okay, recommends me only to use like half dose of normal units during sahur and full dosage of insulin during iftar. Why? Because usually if we eat sahur, we don't eat as much as we have during breakfasting. It will be a more smaller amount because it's a very early breakfast, 4 a.m. So usually we only have like 40% calorie intake. So therefore the insulin needs to be adjusted. While for the iftar itself, we usually have big meals. So it will always recommended to have a full dosage of insulin. And sometimes corrections because we eat a lot. So I always consult with your doctor about insulin adjustment during Ramadan.
Okay, so I'm very interested. So you mentioned about sahur and what's that, the breakfast meal. So what exactly do you all eat during these two meals before you start your fasting and after you break fast? So what kind of food do you eat?
Because sahur is a very early breakfast, so we usually eat very simple menu. Sometimes like nuggets and rice, and it's very early, so we don't have the appetite to eat, but we have to force ourselves to eat because it's sahur. Well, for the breakfast, for the breakfasting, since sometimes during the breakfasting we are in a minor hypo, so we tend to overeat. First to treat our hypo and to treat our hunger, so we eat more. And we usually have this appetizer, dessert, and complete menu set for our breakfasting. It's a totally different calorie compared with the sahur menu.
I see. So, and I understand that actually one of the items that you take to break fast is actually dates. So how does dates help?
Actually, date is not a lot. It depends on the type of date. There are large dates and there are like smaller dates. usually the nutritionist will recommend you the 3 small days. It's only well 3 small days for me. It only took for 1 unit of insulin, so it's not so not high in calories. So it's really small. The three
So
days is recommended. Yeah.
so it's 3 days. Okay, okay, sure. So are there any things that you would like to share with us regarding Ramadan and fasting? So maybe you would maybe want to share with us whether do you fast?
Um, no.
Yeah.
I try to fast because for the last 2 years I was pregnant, and pregnant diabetes is not recommended to do Ramadan fasting. And then the second year I was breastfeeding, so no, I'm not. So I'm not doing Ramadan fasting. So this is my 3rd year, so I probably try to do Ramadan fasting again.
Okay. So you might pick up a bit of fasting for this period, for this
Yeah,
Ramadan
yeah,
this year.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, do remember to be safe in fasting when you have
Yes.
during the Ramadan period. Yeah.
I
And
do
also make sure
remember.
you check.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Also
Oh,
make sure you check blood sugar. Yeah.
yeah. Of course. Yeah, of course. Because usually when you're doing fasting, you have this hypo period. Therefore, my doctor recommended me to adjust my insulin during sahur, because if he or she used the normal amount of dosage of insulin during sahur, he or she will usually experience hypo during the noon. Therefore, try to adjust the insulin dosage when during sahur. And when you're, so it's recommended to check your blood sugar like every 3 hours to make sure that you're not in a hypo or hyper period. Yeah, because if it happens that you have to to uh, counter it, whether you have to break fasting or do corrections if you're in a hyper. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that's a very good advice from Anita. So please remember that if you are going to participate in fasting during this Ramadan period, so please check with your healthcare professionals on how to go about doing fasting, and also and also the required adjustments to your insulin dosage or your medications. Yeah, so it's a really, really short minute so for this 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 topic on Ramadan and diabetes, but I hope you do have some insights and knowledge about what Ramadan is for the Muslim community, and it's a very, very interesting practice that they do, and it's a very eye-opening experience for us, and especially for myself because I live in a multicultural society. I have friends around me who are Muslims. Yeah, so thank you, Anita, for sharing with our audience what Ramadan means to the Muslim community, and I really, really hope that our audience will find this insightful and be encouraged to learn about practices from other religions and culture. Yeah, so this probably will be one of the beginning of a few series that might come before Bida Change Minisode. And so for more information about diabetes and Ramadan, the International Diabetes Federation and the Diabetes Ramadan International Alliance have produced a comprehensive guideline to help people with diabetes to participate in fasting during the Ramadan period while minimizing the risk of complications, because there are many, many factors involved. So please check out the Bida Chain's Facebook page for the link to the resources that we're going to put up shortly after this Minisode. And so that's all the time we have for today's Minisode. Although it's short, but it's very, very informative. And for all those who are actually participating in fasting, we wish you a safe fasting. And if you have any ideas or suggestions on topics that you would like to see or have on Bida Change Minisode, do write to us at bidachangenetwork@gmail.com. You can see it at the link below. Yeah, or you can text us or Facebook us on our Facebook page. So stay connected through our website, Facebook page, or Twitter for more updates on from the Bida Change team. You can also you can also catch up with past episodes of our Minisode sessions on the Bida Change YouTube channel. And that's all we have for you today on our Minisode discussion on Ramadan and diabetes. And hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.